Welcome to your game day preview as Real Salt Lake gets ready to face the Colorado Rapids on Sunday in a nationally televised match at Rio Tinto Stadium in Dunny. Colorado's just 2-4-7, but what does that tell you about what they're doing so far this season?
Well, it tells me that Pablo Mastroeni is starting to figure things out. This is a team that I think isn't necessarily reflective of their position in the Western Conference. With the additions of guys like Ramirez, Torres, Solniak, Pitanari, I think these are game changers offensively. But it's all about the shape. It's all about the transition. And if you look at the games in which Colorado's done well, defensively, they kept the game in front of them as much as possible. When they've conceded goals, when they've ended up getting the results they weren't looking for, and specifically this last weekend's loss 2-1 at home against Portland Timbers, they've got stretched at times. They've got disconnected. And I think that even though you've seen some of the good, some of the bad, some of the ugly, this is a team that a lot of teams in the Western Conference especially have to be very aware of.
You mentioned Gabby Torres. He had a rough spell coming in last season. What's he doing differently now to be productive for this team?
Well, I don't think he's doing much, to be honest with you. He's kind of one of the typical stories in Major League Soccer with designated players, especially those strikers trying to settle in, trying to get the most out of the opportunities presented. I think the biggest difference this year is he's being surrounded by higher quality players. Kevin Doyle's playing a different role underneath him at times, playing alongside of him. Solniak's been a good player. Pitanari plays a little bit deeper. Ramirez over on that left-hand side. But when you look at statistically, when Gabby Torres, Ramirez, and Dylan Powers all start together, this team's undefeated. A couple wins, no losses, a few draws. I think they're starting to recognize the different personalities within the group, which always takes time, but most importantly, I think once they get the system down, kind of a 4-2-3-1, and they really understand how they're trying to play underneath Pablo, this is a team I think that can score a lot of goals.
And speaking of scoring goals, Javier Morales, Joao Plata back in the lineup now for Real Salt Lake. What does that change about what they're able to do moving forward?
Well, I think it's kind of TBD, to be determined. I think it's going to still take a while for these guys to get their game sharpness, game fitness. But ultimately, the formation that we were talking about, kind of that three-prong attack from the beginning of the season, this is what the group was meant to play in. Guys like Sebastian Jaime, Plata, Sabo up top, Javi underneath. This is why Jeff Cassar adjusted the formation to start the year. And I think ultimately, when we take a look at the players available, now's the chance, especially at home, 6 of the next 8 games, you got to start getting points. You got to get maximum points at the right.
Starts with the Rocky Mountain Cup. How much does that trophy, having that rivalry cup on the line, how much does that weigh on the players going into the match?
It means a lot because I think the players recognize what this means to the fans. And I think in the beginning, a lot of people will say, well, it was kind of a made-up cup. It's a made-up rivalry by the league because Real Salt Lake came in. But after the dominance early from the Colorado Rapids and then the dominance from Real Salt Lake, 7 of the last 8 to RSL, this has become bragging rights. And I think it's always been 2 teams that don't like each other on the field, aren't afraid to kick each other up and down during the 90 minutes. And it's going to be a big battle for both teams to prove that they don't deserve to be where they're at in the standings.
Kickoff's at 3 o'clock Mountain Time. You can watch this guy on ESPN News on The Call.